Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Nyatula Sana, and now I will tell you about my understanding of type qualitative research. And here I explain based on introductional research in education books. Well, in the chapter 16, they are explained about 8 type of qualitative research. The first one is basic qualitative studies. Basic qualitative studies, also called as basic interpretative studies, and it is provides a rich descriptive accounts that targeted to understanding a phenomenon, a process, or a particular point of view from the perspective of those involved. And the purpose is to understand the work or the experience of another. And in the basic qualitative study, there are the underlying questions that the researcher is asking about how are events, process, and activities perceived by participants, and it has roots in the social science, and they may use a variety technique for collecting data, such as observation, interview, and review documents. In here, the researcher starts from a frame of knowledge as a social construction. For example, the researcher asking how did teachers feel about the online learning, or what instructional strategies do students think are engaging and why, and etc. In here, for that, researcher can might interview students at various high school grade level about their experience, and teacher to understand their perception of their perception on instructional techniques, like that. Or the researcher could videotape or conduct in-person observation of high school classroom to answer this question. Second is case studies. A case study are focused on a single unit to produce in-depth description that is rich and holistic, and it has the underlying question also, that is, what are the characteristics of this particular entity, phenomenon, person, or setting. And the unit can be individual, a group, or a community, and they are particularistic, which means that focus on a particular phenomenon, situation, or event. And also they are descriptive. It means it's providing us a result, a thick, rich description. And also they are heuristic. It means focus on providing new insight. In the case study, they have an advantage. The advantage is the case study is the possibility of depth because it seeks to understand the whole. For example, for case study is describe the life in Jember, and for collecting data, it also may use a variety technique such as testing, interviewing, observation, review, document, and artifact, and other methods. And what is that? Besides the advantage in case study, also the weakness. It is even though we can have depth, but it is limited. We lack of breadth, because the perception of an investigator can determine which behaviors are observed and which are ignored. The third one is content analysis or document analysis. In this approach, it has roots in communication studies, and there are the underlying question that asks what the meaning is reflected of this material, and they use analysis of written or visual material, and they describe the characteristic of the material, and the material is like newspaper, advertisement, television, textbook, and many more. And the advantage of the content analysis or document analysis, they are easily to replicate. The fourth is ethnographic studies. Research. Well, it has roots in anthropology, and there are underlying questions which ask what are the cultural patterns and perspective of the group in its natural setting. So it's study. This approach study the naturally occurring behavior of a group and focus on the culture and societal behavior. So this approach describe the belief and also value and attitude of that group. And for collecting data, they may use observation, and it provides a holistic description of context and cultural terms. The fifth is grounded theory. In this approach, there are underlying questions that ask how is an inductively derived theory about a phenomenon grounded in the data in a particular setting, and it has roots in sociology, and the purpose of this approach is to inductively build a theory about practice or phenomenon. And for collecting data, it may use interview and observation. And the next is historical research. Historical research has its roots in the study of history, and there are underlying questions, that is, how can historical events and reports be interpreted, and the focus of this approach of this type are focus on the past, and written document and artifact are the primary data sources that may use for collecting data, and it seeks to authenticate sources and determine their consistency with other artifacts and documents. For example, we study about the history of the school, maybe like that. And the seventh is narrative research. In the narrative research also has the underlying question, which is asked, what is the story and its meaning as told through this person's experience? And it has its roots in different humanity disciplines and focus on the story about their life and told by individuals, and the story may be spoken or written. So the purpose is to understand the life experience of an individual or small group. And narrative analysis may be approached through a biographical lens or a psychological lens or a linguistic lens. And data in narrative research may come from primary sources or secondary sources, like direct participant recollection or documents written by the participant, and the data may be gathered via method as interview with the individual or family or the friends of the participant, and the data also may be gathered from written records such as diary. And narrative analysis are attempts to capture individual representation of phenomena that are event and experience based. The last is phenomenological research. Well, a phenomenological study is designed to describe and interpret an experience by determining the meaning of the experience as perceived by the people who has participated in it. And phenomenology addresses questions about common human experience. For example, the experience of studying a foreign language. And phenomenology is rooted in a philosophical method and involves the understanding of the essence of the phenomenon. Well, I think that's it that I can tell my understanding to you, and thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.